People say they want products made in the USA, but they have no idea how incredibly difficult it actually is to pull that off. We are committed to making our vests and cooling pads entirely in America, down to the materials. But that decision has forced us into some frustrating problems. And it's even part of why our gear looks the way it does. Let's dive into what it takes to make our products here in the US. You'll notice a lot of our stuff, especially the fabric, has this tactical look. That's not just a style choice. It's because of something called the Berry Amendment. Basically, the Department of Defense requires their gear to be entirely US made. Because of that, many of the textile manufacturers surviving in the US right now are the ones making tough military-grade materials. So if you want 100% American materials, it's much easier if you're buying what the military buys. Finding US-made fabric was actually the easy part. One of the many struggles was this little hook. There's not a huge supply base in the US for these, so I had to manufacture this myself. And to make these hooks, I also had to design and build my own custom hook bender. I designed every piece of this bender specifically to fabricate this one hook. This is what it takes to cost effectively produce something this simple in America. This is less than $1 to make, by the way, which is pretty impressive in my mind. But we can't just stop at the fabric and a hook. I wish we could, but it has to be cut down to the correct pattern for our product. And for prototyping and small quantities, I use a small laser cutter. When we push for higher rate production, this will be done on industrial lasers for more efficiency. Regardless, these lasers also have to be located in the USA. The fabric I'm using is specifically designed for laser cutting, so I can actually leave a raw edge without it fraying. This fabric is very expensive. If you're buying it on your own in small quantities, you're gonna pay over $60 a yard. But the important part is that this allows me to save weight and reduce labor because I don't need to hem and bind every raw edge. Now, we need these things to actually become a vest, which already brings up a new problem. I need labels that say made in USA or made in America or something like that. And I couldn't trace the origin of the tags available online. So yet again, we're gonna make these ourselves with the help of a local vendor. I generated the text real quick and ordered heat transfers from a US-based company, and these are pressed on myself. The fun really starts when we attach the Velcro, which is, you guessed it, made in America. Even the webbing used for the shoulder and side straps is made in the USA, where we also attach the American-made Velcro. Then we sew all of the plastic hardware onto the vest before it's eventually sewn into the final product you see on our website. All the thread used for this is Berry Amendment compliant, and the material we're using requires heavy-duty industrial-grade machines. Obviously, the machines located in the US. My life would be so much easier if I could just buy a pallet of prefabricated vests from Alibaba, but easy is not our mission. Next up, I make the logo panels. We laser engrave these ourselves with adhesive-backed laser sheets from a company here in Texas. Logo engraving is actually one of the longest steps in the whole process, and then they're just heat pressed on, very similar to the Made in America labels. The ice sheets we used are sourced from a company in Wisconsin that makes them here in the US, and we start out with these bulk sheets and trim them to the proper size. These ice sheets are readily available for a steep discount from overseas, by the way, but obviously we're not taking that path. The same goes for the insulating foam panels. The foam is fabricated in large sheets here in the US, and I cut it down to size using a variety of different templates based on what it's gonna go in. And that's it. That's how we make our cooling vests and cooling pads here in America. But there are some things we still cannot make here. Our accessories occasionally come from overseas. The fan is an obvious one. There's no US source for anything close to this that we could find. And if it was here, you're probably gonna pay 10 times what we pay to get these in-house. This special webbing clip is the second one that we're ordering from overseas. Most of the components on this strap are made here in America, but this specific clip is not. We may be able to make it ourselves someday, but that will have to come later. I want to be as clear as possible that our goal isn't to actually produce 100% of all future products in America. As we continue to develop more items, we'll eventually have to expand our supply base. But there are far too many YouTubers complaining about nobody making things in America when they themselves are not willing to do the hard part of setting up manufacturing here. They just want to bulk order parts from someone else doing the hard work and resell them for a high profit margin. There are no rules saying they can't just set up supply base here. And saying that, for our flagship cooling vests and pads, I intend to keep making those in America, of the highest quality materials available. For those, we want to ensure that we control the quality at every step of the way. I'm also working on a weighted insert for these vests that will also be made in America, so stay tuned for that. All right, after all that, I am curious, how important is the Made in America label to you, and what do you think about this whole saga? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you.